Lynn adjusted the oils on the small wooden shelf, her fingers moving automatically, just like every other day. Her massage studio was silent except for the steady hum of the diffuser. She preferred it that way. Her life had become a routine of quiet tasks, polite smiles, and waiting. Nam had left early that morning, mumbling something about meetings. He hadn't kissed her goodbye. He rarely did anymore. Their words had turned into logistic sweats for dinner. Did you pay the bill? I'll be home late. The kind of sentences that don't need eye contact. Asterisk. She checked the schedule. Koa, again. 4th session this month. He always booked the same hour, never asked for anything outside the usual. He was courteous, tipped well, never flirted. That made it easier to stay professional, easier to pretend her heart didn't race a little when she saw his name. But today, something in her stomach turned not nerves exactly, but awareness. Asterisk. He arrived 5 minutes early, like he always did. She greeted him with the same practiced tone. He responded with his usual calm voice. They didn't speak much. Lynn started the massage, her hands gliding over his shoulders. His muscles always tensed at first, then gradually softened under her touch. She noticed the way he breath measured, deep, almost like he was counting time. Halfway through, his voice broke the silence. Do you ever let go? Asterisk. The question floated in the air, soft, almost unintentional. Her hands paused for half a second before continuing. She didn't respond. There was nothing appropriate she could say, and everything dangerous about what she might feel if she did. But the words settled inside her, not like an accusation, more like an invitation. She forced herself to finish the session without trembling. Asterisk. When he left, he looked at her a moment longer than usual, not suggestively, not expectantly, just searching. She closed the door after him, locked it, then leaned her back against the wall, exhaling like she'd been holding her breath the entire hour. Asterisk. That night, she cooked stir-fried vegetables, and tofu. Nam didn't say anything about the food. He ate in silence, one hand scrolling through his phone. When he stood up, he muttered, "I've got to send a report," and disappeared into the bedroom. Lynn stayed at the table, her plate half full. She wasn't hungry. She wasn't angry, either. Just absent, like she was watching someone else's life. Asterisk. She washed the dishes slowly, then sat on the couch and stared at the blank TV screen. Her phone buzzed with a message from her sister asking about the family gathering. She typed a reply, then erased it. Her fingers hovered for a second before she locked the screen and placed the phone face down. Asterisk. In bed. She lay with her back to Nam. His breathing was steady, already asleep. She stared at the ceiling in the dark, hearing Koa's voice in her head. Do you ever let go? It wasn't a flirtation. It was worse. It was real. It had seen her, the part of her even she tried to ignore. Asterisk. She shifted under the blanket, her hands pressed together over her chest. She wasn't thinking of his body. She was thinking of how she felt when he said that. How he sounded like someone who wasn't asking for permission, but wondering if she remembered who she used to be. She thought about how long it had been since anyone looked at her without expecting her to fulfill a role. Wife, worker, daughter. Asterisk. The next morning, she woke up before the alarm. Nam was gone already. Coffee still warm in the pots, but no note. She took a sip, stared at the calendar. Sio's name again. Same time, next week. Her finger lingered over the booking app. She didn't cancel. She didn't reschedule. She simply left it there. Asterisk. That entire day, she moved slower, more careful with every client, more aware of her hands. Her colleagues at the clinic noticed nothing. She smiled when they joked, nodded during small talk. But something inside her had been touched, not by skin, not by lips, but by a voice that asked the one question she didn't know how to answer. Asterisk. That evening, she sat on the balcony, watching the city dim into night. Below her, motorbikes swarmed like tiny insects, chaotic but predictable. She wasn't sure what was happening to her, only that something had begun, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to stop it. Asterisk. Lynn didn't know why she stood longer in front of the mirror that morning. Her hand lingered near the lipstick she hadn't used in months. She applied a shade that wasn't bold but noticeable, something soft that made her lips look less tired. She didn't name the reason in her mind, but she felt it. The session with Koa was scheduled, and her body had remembered before her thoughts did. Asterisk. When he arrived, she noticed he looked different. Nothing drastic, just the way his eyes paused when he looked at her. They didn't say much. She began the massage, her hands steady, but her mind restless. Halfway through, his voice reached her again. Asterisk. You have magic in your hands, he murmured, but your eyes look like they forgot what they need. Asterisk her fingers stilled, only for a moment. Then she continued. She didn't reply, but her breath caught low in her chest. The words sliced through her like silk, gentle but unmistakably sharp. When he left, he said nothing extra, but something between them had changed, and neither of them denied it. Asterisk, she didn't sleep well that night. Nam had come home late again, barely touching her shoulder as he passed by. When he did speak, it was short, flat. She answered automatically, not even registering what was said. Her mind was elsewhere, back in that quiet room, with words that made her feel something she thought she'd forgotten how to feel. Asterisk, the next time Koa came in, it felt natural, even though everything inside her felt unnatural. She greeted him, calmly, but her hands were warmer when they touched his skin. He noticed. She knew he did. They spoke a little, nothing inappropriate. He asked how she slept. She laughed softly, surprising herself. She asked if he traveled for work. They spoke like people who weren't supposed to be curious, yet were. Asterisk, after that session, he booked another one the same week. That never happened before. When she saw the appointment come in, her heart skipped. She didn't question it. She didn't tell herself not to allow it. She simply accepted it. Asterisk, she began noticing herself, how she dressed, how she walked, how she spoke. At home, she was quieter. Nam didn't notice. Or maybe he did but didn't care. One night, she stood in the shower longer than usual, not because she was tired but because her thoughts were racing. She imagined Koa's voice, imagined it closer, imagined what it might feel like if he said those things while holding her waist instead of lying still beneath her hands. Asterisk, by the fourth session, the air between them was heavy but careful. He didn't speak at first. She was focused, trying to act unaffected. But when he turned his head slightly and whispered, "I think you smile less now than when we first met," she felt her balance shift. Not physically but emotionally, something tilted. She finished the massage, and when he got up, he touched her wrist lightly, almost as if asking if he should say something more. She didn't pull away. She didn't speak. He didn't push. Asterisk, she told herself that nothing had happened. But that was a lie. She knew it. Emotional boundaries had been crossed. Her loyalty was already frayed, worn down, not by seduction but by something more dangerous, recognition. He saw her, saw the loneliness in her silence, the hunger behind her eyes. Nam hadn't looked at her like that in years. She couldn't remember the last time her name came out of his mouth with softness. Asterisk, one night, while folding laundry, Nam walked past her and said, "You've been quiet lately." She looked at him, unsure if he was accusing or observing. He didn't wait for an answer. She nodded, said, "Just tired." He shrugged and walked away. That was all. That was always all. Asterisk, but when she lay down in bed, her eyes stayed open, long after Nam's turned closed. She knew she hadn't just crossed the line. She had erased it. And she wasn't entirely sure she wanted to redraw it. The danger wasn't in what had happened. The danger was in what she now wanted to happen. Asterisk. Rain tapped steadily against the window. The room was dim, warm with the scent of sandalwood. Koa stepped in, his shirt damp from the weather. She handed him a towel without a word. Their eyes met briefly, no smile, no greeting, just awareness. He dried himself silently, sat down, and waited. Lynn's hands felt colder than usual as she prepared, but her heart was louder. Everything inside her had stopped resisting. Asterisk, she began the massage without speaking. Her fingers moved with practiced ease, but every inch of his skin responded differently now. Her breath faltered when his shoulder tensed under her touch, then relaxed fully, as if surrendering. The silence stretched, but it wasn't peaceful. It pulsed with everything they hadn't said. Asterisk, minutes passed before his voice came, low and deliberate. "Tell me to leave, or let me stay." Asterisk, her hands froze. For a second, she couldn't breathe. Then she stepped forward. Not hesitantly, not nervously, just with quiet certainty. Her palm found his cheek, warm and waiting. He turned his head slightly into her hand. No more words. She leaned down and kissed him. Asterisk, the kiss was slow, almost reverent. His hand moved up to her waist. She didn't flinch. She didn't stop. Everything that followed felt like a decision made long ago, waiting for a moment to arrive. Their bodies found rhythm quickly. No rush, no guilt in motion, only in the pause that would eventually come. Her breath filled the space like a secret she no longer needed to keep. When it ended, they lay quietly, limbs tangled, the weight of silence finally feeling like relief. Asterisk. She sat up first, smoothing her clothes, adjusting herself with careful movements. He followed. He didn't speak. He looked at her once, deeply, as if memorizing her face. Then he placed a gentle kiss on her forehead and walked out. The door closed softly. No drama, no promises. Asterisk. Lynn remained seated, staring at the wall. Her heart didn't race, her hands didn't shake. There was no collapse, no regret, only stillness. Asterisk. That evening, her phone lit up. Nam's name appeared on the screen, a single message, dinner. She stared at it for a long time, then typed back slowly, "Don't wait for me." She placed the phone face down on the table, her fingers lingering there for a beat. She didn't cry, she didn't smile, just existed in the quiet aftermath. Asterisk. She wiped down the massage table with slow, methodical care. Every surface she touched felt different now. Not dirtied, not sanctified, just changed. Nothing in the room had moved, but the space had altered entirely. Asterisk. She poured herself a glass of water and sat near the window. Rain still fell, soft and steady. The city moved as if nothing had shifted. And yet inside her, something had fully unraveled and rewoven. She no longer cared what parts of herself had been lost. She only knew that something inside her had been found. Asterisk. As night deepened, she turned off the lights and walked to the door. Before locking up, she looked back once at the table, the place where everything had begun and ended, and begun again. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to speak, but no words came. There was nothing left to explain. Asterisk. In the silence, one thought echoed quietly. It was never the touch that ruined her. It was the whisper. Asterisk.